followers on YouTube channel. I'd like to thank you for all the support and all the subscriptions, the liking and the comments. I would encourage you to, if you're just visiting and you're not subscribing, to do that. It helps us a lot. And also to comment and like, it helps us a lot as well in terms of engaging with you and know how we are really changing and touching your life through these leadership lessons with Dr. Stanley Maposa. I am going to be discussing today a subject that I'm going to entitle Frustrated by Repeated Conflicts. Frustrated by repeated conflicts. Whether it's workplace conflict or it's conflict in any organization, be it a church, be it a burial society, be it a company, be it a government department, conflicts will always be there, and I like to compare them with the traffic hour rush, where you find that there are almost three types of people that are in the traffic rush. There is this one who wants to be speeding despite the traffic rush and waving to others and weaving in and out within the traffic and wanting to, blow their red lights and cruise despite the fact that there's traffic, and in the process, getting in trouble with the traffic cops. But there is another driver who prefers to be slow as if they are parking their car, and driving so slowly in the traffic, and naturally frustrating the faster driver who wants to be quicker. Though there is traffic, and in South Africa there's what is called taxis. I think in other countries as well, matatus in Kenya, and in other countries, emergency taxis in Zimbabwe. Those guys are fast, and they get to be frustrated when there is traffic, and they want to really continue as if nothing has happened within the traffic rush. But there's also the third kind of a driver who is in between these two, who is neither fast nor too slow. And I think that's me and you. Those are the normal drivers, me and you, that drive on appropriate speed and watching out for everyone, and trying to keep themselves not distracted by anything, whether it's phones, whether it's kids, whether it's any other noise, so that they will just pass through this phase of traffic. And traffic is not usually the whole road. It will be at a particular point, and after that you pass through the stage, then you can go as normal. So that's what conflict does in a workplace. It's like traffic. And I've never met a driver, regardless of their age and ability and capacity, who didn't think that their driving was the most appropriate to the roads. Every driver thinks that they are doing their best, even if they are the three of them that I have mentioned already. They think their style is the appropriate for the road or for the traffic that they are driving in. So we would like to look a little bit about leadership and conflict, and how leaders in particular, in all forms of leadership, deal with conflict, and how they address it, and how they confront it, and how they understand it. And I will be asking more questions in this lesson than other lessons. And I'm asking you the first question: what is your approach to conflict? When a conflict is arisen within your organization, within your church, within your non-profit organization, within your civic society organization, within your private company, within the government department that you are leading, or wherever, how do you deal with conflict? How do you address conflict? How do you confront conflict? There are usually three methods, just as I've already indicated, with the three drivers in traffic, and the first one is called the fight mode. There is conflict and then you just fight. You get into the fight mode. And then the second one is called the flight mode. When there is conflict, you run away from it. You escape from flight, from conflict. It's flight. And then the third one is opportunities. Do you see opportunities in any conflict that you get into? Let me then just go to them one by one and explain a little bit some of these things. The first one, as I said, is fight mode. In conflict, some leaders do their research, prepare their complaints or rebuttals, they rehearse their speeches, they review their options, they put their allies together, they find witnesses, they find supporters, and they attack. They attack. Of course, the word retribution never crosses their mind, but justice does. They want to do justice, they want to attack, they want to fight, they want to just solve that particular conflict head on. They are the head on type of conflict resolvers or conflict leaders. They are the fearless leaders that say, let's deal with this thing. Maybe sometimes they are too fast, maybe sometimes they are too rough, but they say, let's deal with these things. Ultimately, the fight is on, and that means they will either be losers or winners of the conflict. They know that if they lose, then they lose. If they win, they win. But nonetheless, they are going to fight it out. They are going to confront this particular conflict head on, as I've already said. Then the flight mode is leaders who want to do what is called conflict avoidance. They avoid conflict. They run away from conflict. They fly away from conflict. They are in the flight mode, in the runaway mode. Actually, to these kinds of leaders, the topic of conflict or the people that have conflict in a work environment are sidestepped. You'd find in a company setup or in an organizational setup, those people that are known to be conflict pushers or that do the most conflict are avoided. No one greets them, no one challenges them, no one opposes them. In a meeting they can talk as much as they like, and everybody is just avoiding them. Everybody is just being too careful to step on their toes, to address them, because they know that sometimes if you bring the concern to these people, they will deny. If you bring the conflict to some of these people, there will be a fight, there will be hatred, there will be issues, there will be challenges, and therefore what then happens in that scenario is that then allies are formed, those that agree with the one that has been harmed or hurt, and the one that has hurt the other. Two separate factions begin to develop, or many factions begin to develop, because people think there's safety in numbers, and then gossip mongering as well as grapevine begins to be part and parcel of the organization, because people are avoiding the conflict. People do not want to approach this elephant in the house and address it. And that's called the flight mode. The third one is called the finding opportunities. Some leaders recognize that conflict is usually an opportunity for growth. While they probably did not want the conflict to happen, but now that the conflict is there, it then becomes a conflict it becomes an opportunity for growth, such that when we solve this conflict, when we address this conflict, when we are through this conflict, we are going to learn from it. We are going to grow from it. So it's an opportunity, therefore, to grow from it. So these kinds of leaders, as I said, they don't want the conflict, but they stay curious, they stay respectful, they explore personal responsibility. They say, what is my role in this conflict? They don't just fight the person that has wronged them. They don't just run away from the person that has wronged them. But they say, let me look at what's my contribution in this particular conflict. There's an old saying that it takes two to tango. And when conflict has happened, those in the fight mode usually are on the blaming side, that the other one is wrong and they are correct. And those that are running away are saying, let me be safe, let me run away, or let me run away from the problem solver, and maybe let me leave this job, let me leave this church, let me leave this marriage, let me leave these children. It's the flight mode, it's the runaway conflict solvers. But these ones are saying now, I will first of all look at myself and say, what is my contribution to this particular conflict? What did I also do wrong so that this conflict happens? They first of all look at themselves, they retrospect, they check themselves, they reflect and say, what are my responsibilities as an individual that is part of this conflict? And they're interested to find what really is the issue, what is really the fault, not in one person, but in both sides. And they're interested in finding ways to grow so that maybe in future, when similar conflicts happen, they can be handled differently. So I'm asking you a second question. What is your tendency in conflict? Do you run away? Do you fight? Or do you find opportunities? Are you in the fight mode, flight mode, or opportunities mode? I want us to discuss another thing as we come to almost a close, something that's called perception. Perception is something that really affects conflict big time. If you are in an ocean or a sea, you will see a number of swimmers, and those that are not concerned about the sea monsters, the sharks and so forth. They are enjoying the swimming, they're having fun. But those that are not sure, they will not be enjoying, they will not be swimming, and they will not be, they'll be taking things carefully. So perceptions are some of those things. Somebody perceives that they are sharks and therefore they are afraid to swim. And somebody says, no, this is water. And they are just swimming freely. And therefore in conflict, most of the conflicts are caused by something called perceptions. Perceptions are things that we think others are thinking, are things that we think others are going to say, even if they have not said them, are things that we believe ourselves, and then because we believe them ourselves, we think the other people are believing. Perceptions are things that you think that if I was in a particular situation, I was going to do this, and you think that because the other person is in that situation that you thought you were going to be yourself, then she or he is going to behave like yourself. All those are perceptions. And perceptions are most of the time not true. They need therefore to be found out, to be corrected, to be researched on, to be cleared. That this is my perception, this is how I feel about this particular thing. And there's not much credibility around perceptions. And most of the conflicts really are perception driven. And where there is a lot of these perceptions, the fiber of trust is destroyed. There becomes lack of trust. And these perceptions also can develop a lack of trust, or they can come from a lack of trust. They can also come from personal history, from experiences in similar situations. And most of the leaders really lead and do a lot of their work based on perceptions. So I'm asking you question number 3. How do you relate to perception in conflict? How likely are you to accept as a fact something that is a rumor or rushed conclusion? People just work on rumors. Leaders work on rumors. And maybe because they like rumors and they work on rumors, their employees and their team members feed them with that particular rumor. And then you find that an organization is an organization that is led by perceptions. You think they are doing this because they think I am not educated as much as they are. If we are, for example, we are leading people that are very educated and we are not. And you're thinking that they are behaving this because they think they are educated than you. I've seen that also in males that are leading females. They think that these people are behaving like this because I'm the only male. Or ladies that are leading, men, sometimes have this perception that they are not respecting me because I'm a woman. They are disrespecting me because I'm black. They are disrespecting me because I'm white. They are disrespecting me because I am this or that or that or that. A lot of other things that people put forward which are not real and they are not true. And then they begin to act on those things, act on rumors, act on rushed conclusions, and that messes up the whole conflict resolution space. The other thing is power. Whether or not a leader believes that he or she has power or control in a situation often impacts whether they choose to fight or flight. In other words, as a leader, you must choose whether you think you have power or you don't have power. If you perceive that you have power, you can deal with conflict. But if you perceive that you have no power in this situation, then you cannot deal with conflict. You can either fight or flight based on the power arrangement. Because leaders often do have more power, they are more likely to choose the attack option. But sometimes their personal history, upbringing, experience causes them to miscalculate the amount of power or influence they already have. Regardless, personal power or the perception of it impact how one tends to relate to conflict. I want to close by this. There's something that's called a healthy conflict. Conflict is healthy sometimes. It's going to provide opportunities, it's going to provide growth, it's going to provide answers to certain things. So don't avoid it. Actually, have a lot of health conflicts in your organization. And when you do that, you also destroy group thinking. People thinking like robots and behaving the same way. What is not good is unhealthy tension. Unhealthy tension is toxic, unhealthy tension is dangerous. And in the theoretical framework, there's something that is called the pathological theory of conflict, which is the unhealthy theory. And then there is the behavioral theory of conflict, which means sometimes conflict is as good as breathing. It's part of human behavior. Thank you.